a lot of nature ventures right now having a particular difficult time. So I wanted to look for a nature venture that is actually really crushing it right now. And I found one. Omni. Omni is a vegan dog food brand that in the end reduces the environmental impact of our furry's companion. So instead of all this like meat and fish and so forth that goes into dog food, they produce totally vegan ones that are also apparently better for our dogs because they don't have allergic reactions. This is not only great for our environment, but they actually also have really stellar financial performance. So they just gathered another 40.5 million in funding. They grew their revenue in less than a year by more than 13 times to more than 13 million now. They were also, after their appearance in Dragon Den, which is a really popular UK TV show, they increased their sales by 130% with more than 20,000 new customers coming in. And of these customers, you have 80% that are actually recurring. We're going to talk about that too. And really important for that is that we can see nature ventures that have a really incredible nature impact, and at the same time, they also work really financially. So I wanted to decode for all of us what they're doing right, because I can share with you already. I did like a 2 hours deep dive in everything that they do, from how the first person know about them to them actually buying the bag of dog food. And I can share with you, this impact is by design. So let's get into it. Important side note here, this won't be heavily edited. This will be me talking to a camera, showing you exactly how I find these kind of best practices, so that I'm not just like giving you, hey, they're doing this great or you should do that, but I also show you the techniques of how I came about and how I'm kind of screening through the socials, how I'm screening through their website and so forth, so you can really see the things that you should be paying attention to, so that you not can only consume such videos here, but that you can actually be much more empowered to do all of this kind of research yourself, if that is something that you like. So let's go. All right, first awareness. How do they manage to bring people towards their products? All right, so we have a quick look around. All right. Okay, BBC Dragon's Den. So that means they went to one of the most popular TV shows on the UK TV. So that obviously creates a lot of awareness. So I quickly checked out here, for example, on their YouTube channel, they still received 87,000 views. You can imagine in live TV, it was even more. So what you can take away for you is, if you have a mass appeal product, like dog food or fashion, etc., then you can definitely manage to get a lot of awareness through TV. It's a bit of a no-brainer, but it's really worth it. It can be like something like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den and Lion's Den and all of the different dens, but it can also be like a TV through news and so forth. It can really be one of those igniting forces that get you a lot of awareness, at least in the peak, and then you can always refer back to this. So that's what they do here, for example. That is brand matching. So people might not know Omni yet, but they know BBC Dragon's Den. And so what they do is they take a brand that is familiar to people and Omni pairs next to it. And like this, the trust will rub off on them, because now it's associated, they see it all on the same page. Really smart that they do. So that was probably one of the really kicker that got them a lot of awareness for their product. Then one of the things that you can always look through is a bit like on their first homepage. If you find any other areas of how they get awareness, I often go really straight to the bottom, because that's where you often then find the socials. So open here a couple of socials for us. They have on Facebook, they have 10,000 people that follow them. Then on Instagram, they have 30,000, and on TikTok, 3,000. And on YouTube, they just had a couple of hundreds, I think. So for the time being, I would say let's focus then on Instagram, if that's the one that is the most performing for them. Of course, you never know. Maybe the 3,000 people on TikTok, they actually bring more of the revenue than the Instagram. But just in terms of like activity and how professional the profile looks, I would guess right now that the biggest channel for them, at least on the socials, is Instagram. All right, so what do we see here? First of all, I would like to talk about the profile section, because it's packed with full best practices. All right, so first what they do here, it's really clear on what they're producing. So, okay, I come in here, okay, it's about pets, it's about pet food. Okay, I see all the dog pictures. Immediately visual representation of the problem that you're solving. So that's fantastic. What they then do is like award winning. So they didn't write just like pet food, no, award winning. So as soon as you have awards, certifications, use those, because award means like, okay, maybe the people that come across the socials, they haven't heard about them, right? We're on the awareness stage. So awards, okay, man, they must be doing something right. So it builds trust that will basically stack up and compound over a period. So even small, tiny things like that will really make a difference later on. As seen on BBC and Dragon Dance, so you see again what they did here. They pair their brand immediately with a brand that is more familiar, because they know, especially on socials, is often how people discover and have the first touch point with a brand. Then vet founded. So instead of just like creating a brand on for the dog food, they also create a personal brand. So here actually one of the founders is more present on Instagram and is sharing probably like some intimate parts of his life, like why he created this, and so he is not just basically anonymous, but he seems to play like quite an active role in promoting the brand and talking more about this entire journey. And that is a really good strategy, because in the end, people trust people. So in the end, they're much more likely to listen to a person than to look at the logo and let the logo tell them, oh yeah, you should buy that dog food. But if it comes, the message, if it comes through a human, that lands like much better. So how you can adapt it for yourself is definitely look at your profile section, because the profile section is really, really important, as it kind of gets people to the next step. And the second thing that you can definitely walk away with is, if you're the founder, try to be more present, share more of the story, document more of the journey, because it will really come a long way, that people create like faster trust with you. And if they create faster trust with you, then they're more likely to become a donor, a consumer, and so forth. Always allergy friendly. So here, as we said in the intro, it's actually a vegetarian dog food, and the entire intro, they didn't even say that here on the Instagram, but they say it's allergy friendly, which is an important signal for people that have a dog. So, and then you click on that link, and then it immediately drives you towards that page. So no link tree or anything like that, immediately the page, which I would recommend if you really know what you want people to do next. Just put the one link in there. Don't put like thousands of different links. It will just like scatter people, because they don't know now, okay, on which of the 10 links should I click. Maximum like 3 options. Otherwise, like if you have 10 options, people will just bounce. All right, what else did they do? Okay, they have here this pin post. I think it's a really best practice that you can copy for yourself as well. Who, what, and why. So you basically can swap through the different carousel to then see, okay, what are they all about? It's basically a mini pitch. Then they have here kind of a second pitch, the one about Dragon's Den. So again, they pair their brand with Dragon's Den, because that's where a lot of people know them from. And then the third, they make the story. They give more of the story of like how it all started, to create again more trust, to make it more human. So you do the work once. You do the work once on like why you're building this. You do the work once about like a bit more of a story behind the scenes and how it all started, and like a big milestone that you had, and you just pin those to the tops, and then it's the first thing that people always see. Now, if we look at also a couple of posts, so you can look a bit there for best practices. One thing that I really started to see already as soon as I went just for a couple of seconds on the website, when we started the video, is their copywriting. So copywriting is like basically your writing, and if it's creative and if it's catching people. And here what they do in this post is basically they use reverse psychology. So they tell you, don't buy these doggy dental sticks unless you want to have fresh breath, clean teeth, healthy gum. So reverse engineering, that is like quite interesting. Patagonia was one of the really famous ones that also said like, don't buy that jacket. And in the end, people bought more of that jacket. So one thing that you can use is definitely this reverse psychology. And again, they're talking about things that every dog owner knows. So for example, I have a dog. And so fresh breath is definitely something that you want as a dog owner. And so immediately they kind of reflect back a pain point, and they provide you with a solution for it. Let's take another one. Okay, here it's about like dog shampoo for dry itchy skin from nose to tail. So it's AI generated, actually quite interesting. Pretty sure it would be very interesting to test around with what kind of visuals work better, if it's AI or real images. So far, I would guess for me, it's still more with real images, but that's maybe just my preference. Big flavor, big excitement. Okay. So let's say, okay, here for example, what they do is, again, they first of all, they also look at if you have a lot of the who, what, why, and the founder story, a lot of it is emotionally driven, and now you want to back it up as well with some facts. And so 97% of vets say our dentist could be a good alternative for brushing. So in the end, the 97% kind of reassures also the more analytical brain of the person, so that they feel okay, they make the right decision for the dog. Here's a video. They have some feedback, so they take some testimonials. They apparently they show that the founder to eat the dog food, so it's like safe for human and dogs. So they basically show that it's not just like garbage, it's one of the best things. I mean, if a human can eat it, then there seems to be at least not that much garbage in there. Then they also jump on things that are currently hot topics in society. So for example, here there was a heat wave we were recording this video, and so in the end they jump on something that people talk about right now, and then they put it through the lens of their topic. And so here it's about dogs and about pets, and so basically they came up with this really great visualization on a current topic, and that's probably worked really well. Here they put in some more kind of trust, because they appeared in newspapers and so forth, so that's always a good way as well. And then maybe last one, so that's like, in the end, like just shows like a video in action. Videos, especially with Instagram, I would say if you really want to grow organically, then videos are really the way to go. Because you can definitely grow as well with the carousels, but by now it's still very driven that people find you on your Instagram through video related content. So it's definitely something that I would share as a best practice. So that's, let's say, organic social media. So organic means like they didn't pay for any. And then it's actually really interesting. It's called Ad Library for Meta, where you can basically just look for the categories. You can type in any brand, and then you can see which ads are live. And so here with Omni, you can see that they have tons of ads. So just from outside, my hypothesis would be that indeed, like a lot of the traffic, a lot of the general first awareness came through either the Dragon's Den or through ads, and then they have their organic socials to go even deeper in the story and so forth. But most people will probably find them through the apps. And so now I'm not going to go into crazy detail and take every different ad apart, but I wanted to show you that you can basically look at the different ads, and then what you would do is you can sort by, for example, by most impressions, and you can also filter by active ads or like historical ads, and then you can get a bit of an idea. You can't see how well they perform, like really like super great detail, but at least you get like, you get a bit of an understanding, like, okay, how many people did they reach, and so forth. And then you can look at basically every single ad, and you can take it apart. So you can look at, okay, what the copy looked like. And so here, for example, best part of your dog's day, they talk about the allergies. They flex with the numbers of customers that they already had. They talk again about Dragon's Den, and they also kind of create some urgency of like save 50% on your first order, and also talk about Trustpilot. So they do a lot of signaling. They give a lot of arguments why you should check it out. Here, run, jump, fetch, repeat for dogs who can. So like in the end here, for example, one of the key pain points that you want as a dog owner is you want your dog to live a long life and a happy life and an active life. And so in the end, they try to use that pain and provide a solution for this with their product, so that in the end your dog has a long fulfilled life. Here it's a bit about taking a walk. Sorry. Yes. See, it's about like taking a walk, so you can immediately visualize yourself in that kind of action with your dog, and they play a bit on that mood. So yeah, that's about like ads. Again, I'm not going to go into every single ad. Sorry for that, but you see that there is a really high likelihood that their awareness is also really created through ads. You look around, you look at, again, the copy. Do they use videos? Do they use images? What do they say on the images? What are they testing with? For example, here they use this like the dog in the foreground, some bold words in the background, always with a bit of a product in there. And they're also testing this kind of ad where it's more about like the founder story and that they got fundraised. So in the end, look a bit at the different types, and they will already give you an idea of like which ads you could potentially run. You can do this, as I said, like you can put any sort of brand or NGO in there and see if they currently have some ads online, and that will give you a good starting point for ads. All right. Without further ado, let's have a look of awareness, like one last thing about a bit how people land potentially on there. So here's the about page. Maybe that will give us some more ideas where they promote things. Okay, not so much. And then the blog section, let's see. One of the things I always do first is to try to figure out like when the last one was written. Okay, I can't see it right now, but it seems relatively recent. So you can see here already, just by the sheer amount of different tags that they have, that apparently they have like quite a bit of blog articles on that. Some longer form, so you can see here 9 minutes, 11 minutes, and 3 minutes. And some shorter ones about like 2 minutes and 3 minutes. So another strong hypothesis I would say is where they get like the traffic from is from creating search engine and AI optimized content. So if you do that, that's maybe not going to work for you right away, but it's really in the long term, it's a really good way of creating awareness, because people type into their AI, like, how can I do something great for my dog? Or how can I make sure he stays healthy? Or my dog has an issue, an allergic reaction, maybe I have to change the dog food. They type that into Claude or ChatGPT, and voila, it will pick probably Omni up, because they built a huge SEO optimized library for that. And so here you can go, especially I would say in the last, you go in one of the last articles, and then you see a bit like if there's a certain structure in it. So you go on all, and then you see a bit like, okay, lately they seem to be writing a lot of like shorter ones. And here, and back in the days they were writing a bit older ones. So let's have a look at the shorter one, and then you can look at the structure. What are they writing about? What's the structure of the text? How do they approach it a bit? So here, for example, what do I say about the dental sticks? So here, for example, they did an experiment, and so this is really smart. And so basically they run their own experiment. They're not waiting necessarily for just like scientifically proven experiments, but they're just like sending it to people. And based on that experience, they have then statistics, and that statistics, they sound really creditworthy, even though maybe 76 is not the same, so to say, testing pool as thousands of people. Yeah, but because they did it with the 76, they're not lying. They said it right at the start of it. We send what dog owners say about all dentistics. So we would consider that it's about all of the dog owners, but it's actually 76. So, but they're saying it here. And then they can claim things like 79% of dogs ate their dentistick immediately, no coaxing, no hesitation. So then they basically back up with a lot of the emotional stuff that they've been placing around the website and the socials. They back it up with really factual statistics that at least are true for the 76% or for the 76 dog owners. And so here they structured it. Okay, how did they respond? The results. How do we compare? This kind of comparison exercise is something that especially AI really likes, because AI needs to make sure like, okay, where do I send people? And so no matter if it's like coral restoration or reforestation or rewilding, in the end, if a person types in like, what is the best rewilding NGO support? How does the AI know? So in the end, this comparison aspects within the blog article, or sometimes even entire articles or entire pages, they really help you that your brands will come on top. The overall ranking, would they buy again? This is like one of the smartest things to ensure that people not just like read that's really nice content, but they actually nudge towards taking an action. For them it's actually also really great, because what they did here is they run an experiment to find out more about their dentistics and to understand like, okay, what are the pain points, what are people really looking for, and to then use it as well in their communication. So whenever you run these kind of experiments, or whenever you try to get insights from users, yes, definitely good for you, but also try to communicate them back to you. Your communication should change. If you get better insights of like what people really care about, your website, your socials, and so forth, they constantly need to change based on the more granular you get with the idea of like what pain points and solutions you would like to solve. So that's a bit about that part. So we can see as well, like SEO is probably a good driver of that. So that's about awareness. Now, number 2, education. So now that people made their way towards, okay, I've heard about Omni now through Instagram, through blog article, through ChatGPT, through watching Dragon Den. Now I'm ending up on their website. So how do they manage to then educate the users? So you saw already a bit before, they do a lot of the education even before people come to the website. And in doing so, they increase the chances that the conversion rate, so if people actually buy, to increase that. Because in the end, if you, let's say, do only storytelling and only really beautiful pictures and videos and so forth on your social media, for example, or in your ads or on your blog articles, and then basically they come on this page and then your heart's trying to sell them, you're going to have quite a bit of a struggle with the conversion rate, because people are not used to, first of all, your technique. They're going to be a bit like, oh, that's a totally different approach. And second of all, they will be needing more time to educate themselves about like what solutions now you actually offer. So in your content creation that you create, no matter if it's ads, no matter if it's your social media or the blog and so forth, you need to put components as well so that people start to be solution aware, so that they really understand like, okay, what are these guys doing? And how are they doing it? And what makes them different? And so you saw already with the different dentistics and all the different Instagram posts that we went through, that we were already sharing, they were already signaling to people, it's created by vets, there's data to back it up, they have happy customers, they already like pinpoint a couple of objections already in their social media, without you even having to be educated only on their website. So now let's go and pick apart the website, because the website is one of the most important part where people then educate themselves to then make a buying decision. And the buying decision is also happening on the website. So now we go through especially the education part of like, okay, how do they nurture now people more to click on that shop food button and actually go through with it. All right, so here, one of the first things we can see is 200,000 happy customers. So no matter the size that you have and so forth, it's always really fantastic if you signal back to people, okay, they're not the first ones that have to take the leap in terms of donation or buying your services and so forth. So if you have any numbers, try to bring this across. What also personally I think is always really helpful is if you show a couple of faces of happy customers, and actually real faces, not the stock photos, especially here with them. You could actually not just have the happy customers, but maybe the customers with a dog. I think that personally gives always a bit of a human touch, and I would trust it even more. Then formulated by vets, adored by pets, perfect copywriting. in a nutshell, again, you know why you're here. In immediate nutshell, you know what this website is about. You're not confused. Same goes here with the picture. Really straightforward. The dogs look happy. There's some dog food next to it. Okay, I know this is a dog food brand. It sounds like a no-brainer, but so many of our nature ventures unfortunately get that wrong, is that you need to give really, really clear signaling of what this website is about. And then you need to show them, okay, what do you want to do them next? And that's shop food. Nothing else. And that's especially this part is what we call real estate. So a lot of people, they won't give you the second score, the third score, and so forth. So it needs to be really, really clear to identify, okay, is this for me or not? About BBC, we already talked about. Okay, here, really interesting. What else do? They have vet funded nutrition solutions. So they give you kind of the strong features of their products so that you are faster to make a buying decision. What I find really, really great from an educational perspective and in order to remove obstacles from the buying decision is like chat to a vet. For me, they really, really understood well their customers. Customers in that segment are really afraid to make the wrong choice. I know that because I have exactly that kind of thinking right now. Should I kind of switch my dog to a vegetarian diet? But I don't want to hurt her, so I haven't done it. And I would exactly love to chat with the vet. That would be actually my biggest obstacle from buying from them. So they made that actually a free of charge thing. So let's take a look at this before we click through more of the website. And I think this is like really, personally, this is one of the most genius things. So for you, one of the takeaways is try to identify, okay, what is the most biggest obstacle that is in the way between them really starting to like you and actually buying, what is still in between there, what's stopping them, and then trying to create a solution for them to overcome this. And this is perfect because a vet, you trust a vet. So in the end, if the vet tells you like, no problem, Omni is like, it's great, it's even healthier than the garbage that you were giving to your dog. Awesome. So here you can immediately book an appointment. So let's see, book an appointment. All right, so one of the things I don't like personally often is like if you have to click like too many times in order to get somewhere, but at least here it's still okay. So let's see what's like book an appointment. So then it's again book an appointment. Okay, so we're like 4 times book an appointment. Maybe that can be a bit like smoothed over, but in the end it's like cherry picking. So here in the end I can actually then take a different time slot and I can go right ahead and book it. Free advice, no pressure. Awesome. Cool. Like it's exactly, they tell you also like what's going to happen. They're going to help you with these different topics, and then they show you exactly how it's done. So you discuss, you make a plan, you follow up. Awesome. Cool. Here they give again like also like some of the other doctors. Fantastic. Yeah. No, so for me personally, this is one of the best practices you should definitely try to copy. All right. So what is then? Okay, shop by category. Immediately as well, like you don't often like you need so much explanation about what you do. You definitely try to talk a bit about the problem and solution. Here I would say, especially because it's an e-commerce brand, you can immediately start with the products, and then basically they talk a bit more about the other components of it and why you should buy it and so forth. I think this is good for e-commerce. When it comes to really other types of nature ventures, it's always debatable what exactly the structure of a homepage is. It's also something that you should test a bit around. I personally really like when you have certain like problem solution sections that kind of make it clear again, like why you should act now. So for example, problem could be like, okay, the paw print of your pet is actually massive, or your dog unfortunately has like maybe a lower life expectancy because you're feeding in the wrong things, So in the end, you really try to just articulate again, like what, why people should care about this and show them then the solution. Here you can shop by category. So, okay. In terms of more education, okay, if I'm not ready yet to go into the different categories, then I can see here this section, Unleashing the Future of Pet Nutrition. So again, they just like basically give you like, okay, some key USP of like why you should buy them. So new proteins, it's from vets, it's delicious. So in the end, it doesn't taste like garbage, and like your dog is gonna love it. And it's also made in UK. So for some people that is really important, and especially because the UK market is their first market, and with all the Brexit going on and so forth, you never know. And I think if you can play that card, then of course, like made in the UK, made in France, made in Germany, made in US, that is definitely important for certain segments. So if it's important for your segment, then just do it. This is something that I personally would have expected a bit further up. It's basically where they show like all the different parts where they've been mentioned, and they've been mentioned by Sky, Guardian, BBC, and so forth. I personally would put this a bit more up, but again, they do the testing and they figure out like, okay, where it drives the biggest conversions. So in their case, apparently made sense there. So where have you been seen? Again, coming back to what I started the video with, you want to pair your brand with brand that are more well known, if they're good for your image. So that's what they're doing here. Then bestsellers, I think, which is always smart, because to be honest, when I arrive on these kind of e-commerce pages, I'm always like lost. Okay, but what should I buy now, and so forth. So I think that is really smart. Sensitive to dry food. Okay. Here, then they also like mention again a couple of like these kind of key buying points. I think this is really smart. Here again, when it comes to education, people can look at the different reviews then on Trustpilot and so forth. So I think that is always smart to incorporate. Trustpilot is one of the most trusted services for that. So in the end, it really shows that it's like a high score and it's a lot of reviews. So it gives a bit more trust. And then it's nice if you have these kind of numbers. But for me, for example, this numbers isn't like, it doesn't hit the same as with that bar here, because now I see also like happy dogs. And so in the end, like try to match the analytic part of the brain with emotional, ideally in the same section, so that both parts of the brain are telling me like, oh my god, I should really support this. All right, so here then they have like some, I think some investor voices. Okay, so here again they play the card about like the Dragon Den, and here they talk one of the biggest objections. So if you arrived on here and you're not really sold, which is the case, right? Because you could have figured out already the categories or the bestsellers and apparently still need more information. Now let's talk to a vet. And again, they push people towards that, and then just like the socials. And at the bottom, they have a founder story, as I mentioned a bit on their socials, which is always good to make it a bit more human. Join the pack. This is something that we didn't talk so much in awareness, because for me, this is actually more of an education bit, because even nowadays, people often, they rarely send each other newsletters. It can definitely happen. If you have a fantastic newsletter, then it gets forwarded. But I would put like newsletters a bit more in the indication part, so we can see, for example, right now what would come up and here, because what you want to do is you want to nurture people more. Join the pack, be the first to hear about exclusive offers. Okay. To make this more enticing, they had a pop-up. Unfortunately, when I started to record this video, it was gone, but they had a kind of an offer with which they also were making it more enticing. I think it was like 50% off or something for your first order. Let's see what's happening. I think this part, they could put a bit more love into this. You really want to make it as enticing as possible. If a person scrolled onto there and they're still not really sold, you at least want to get the email address. Maybe they're not going to buy something now, but you want to keep on nurturing them. So I think you can put like a little bit more effort here in that part to entice them, like to really subscribe now. And I think this is, there's still some room for improvement. For example, I like to put in like the faces of the readers, or I like to give examples of what a newsletter could look like. That's one of the best examples. Always test these kind of things, like how fast you get an email. That is really important, because the person maybe wants to check out like, maybe I got like a voucher code or anything like that. And sometimes they just don't give you the time to kind of come back. It's out of sight, out of mind, and then they're not going to fulfill the order. So there should always be a good welcome sequence that kind of introduces the person again to it. Maybe they have that, but for me now, at least in this situation, I was in a hurry. So it's a really good kind of test to do if the email gets out really fast. And again, here they back it up with more experts to say, yeah, you can trust us. And they also do some charity support. So they offset their CO2 and apparently they donate to a charity. Really fantastic. So in the end, it also backs up my feeling of I can trust these guys. And so here again, what you can take away for you is to also think a bit about it, like even though you are building a nature venture, so you're building something great for nature, is there always something that you can do more? And so they're already building something that reduces the pressure on nature, but then they still go the extra mile to work with a charity and still offset their CO2 and so forth. So always think about the next mile. This is just going to convince more people to go for it. All right, another educational piece, as we said, like for example, is FAQs. FAQs is definitely like try to really be thorough with them and give as much information as possible, because one, people that are really hesitant to change their behavior, which with dog food is often the case, like dogs, they have their own brand, and then it's like switching, you're not going to do this from one to the other day. So you actually need a lot of education in order to make that decision. And that maybe is true for your nature venture too. If a person is locked in, for example, they've been always donating to this one NGO, or maybe they've been always using this one nature tech tool, then you need to put even more effort into this education piece to show them the difference, to give them all the answers. And second, again, AI loves this kind of stuff because it's exactly kind of a question that people have. They type it in. And so the better your answers, the more context your answers delivers, the better is the likelihood that in the end, Claude, ChatGPT, and so forth are referring back to you. So here it seems like they have like quite, they seem to have like quite extensive FAQ system to get the people even more, to educate them. And then we look at the blog we already took a look at, so I'm not going to go there again. Make most of talk to vet, talk to behaviorist. Okay, cool. They even have like a behavior support, so that's also something that they have. So even more education that they provide for you so that you can make a better decision. Now, okay, let's look at some dog food. So now we are actually really approaching the acquisition part. So now it's a bit of it's in the between stage. So maybe I need still some more education to figure out like, okay, what do I now really want to order? But now we're looking basically into the different profiles. All right, formulated by vets for picky pups. Okay, awesome. Again, they mention the vets. They talk again about the trusted covers. You can never use this kind of things, like you use it as much as you can, So it should not be on every section, but really use it frequently. You think it was really clear because it was somewhere on the homepage. No, you need to bring it back. And so what they hear is a recurrent deliberation, common allergens. Okay, cool. And then taste test guarantee, deliver in 2 days, secure payments, veterinary support. Awesome. So here again, they remove all the different obstacles. Oh my God, I have an obstacle because it's going to take me 2 weeks until it arrives. Oh, shoot. Can I maybe find it in the store so I can get it now? 1 to 2 days, that's really good. Secure payments. People definitely don't want to have their credit cards details stolen. So you want to make sure you voice that to people. And veterinary support, in case there's anything, you have that. Plus, here as well, free delivery over 39 pounds. So awesome. Cool. Now, the sensitive, let's go on one. So basically, okay, what did they do? Again, visual cues that they sent is the dog, the food in the background, and then some fresh ingredients. And so one of the most important parts, and they do it here a bit similar to Instagram, which I think is really awesome. They show you basically a testimonial. Okay, let's go back. Okay, couldn't see that. So yes, you have really like a product picture, but then in the end it's a happy dog, so it sends a visual cues that this is really good for your dog. Reasons to get excited, so again, like the most important key points of like the features, so to say, why should we, then a bit like, okay, what these features would lead to, so what's really the outcome, more features, so to say, to back them up, a feed guide. So this is also really fantastic. It's like, again, like already anticipate the next challenge that they have. So here they know people don't know how much kilograms they need, or like how much do I need to give to my dogs. And so whenever you try to map out the customer journey as much as we can, and so that's why we did this video, for example, so that you can really see like how many things you have to think about to improve your conversion rate, so that more people start to support you. And the more deliberate you really are in this, and the more you really think about this in detail, the higher will be the likelihood that people will give you a chance. Then testimonial, awesome. So I see the dog. This is really fantastic. Is so they show you, they show you the journey of the transformation. So they tell you, okay, in the first 4 days you only do it 25%, and then 50%, and so forth. So they really already, they build the visualization of what your journey is going to look like. And I think that is super smart, and that's definitely something that works really well to improve conversions. Nice, more dog pictures with it, and then what it is. Awesome. Cool. So if you're watching this right now and you feel a bit stuck with scaling impact, there's just something that is not moving, then we built something for you. It's a free assessment tool that helps you in just 3 minutes to assess, okay, which part of my nature venture do I currently need to tackle in order to scale my impact. It's going to assess you in product, money, attention, and people, and you will get immediately your results that are personalized to the different question that you answered, and will give you the focus and the priority of what you should be working on next. And if you need any help with this, you always know where to reach us. All right, cool. After the pictures, what else can we see that improves conversion? So right at the top, you see, okay, there's plenty of reviews, or I can also even click on it and I immediately see the reviews, and I can read from real people how their dog's getting along. Also really smart. They actually ask the people a couple of questions, so it's more precise, so that people have even more context. They also verify the buyer to make sure that this is not just bots or something that they bought. Really good. What are your dog concerns? What's your dog's diet? What is your dog wearing? Awesome. So this is really, really great, because that gives people much more context. Because in the end, if let's say here in this case, it's a problem of like different breeds have different needs. And so if I have a really large Saint Bernard and now somebody's writing something about their pug, I'm not sure if it's going to work on my Saint Bernard. Like that, they remove that obstacle. It's more relevant to them. And as again, like you in your nature venture, you can always do this. You can always have certain signals that create trust, and you can pull the right people. You can reflect back certain pain points that they have and try to remove as many as possible. The more obstacles you remove, the higher is the chance that people are gonna donate or buy or support your service. Okay, sensitive adult dry food, so also really good actually copywriting, because it's straight to the point. Finally, a food for your sensitive dog loves, spring peace. So it's a really short introduction of what the product does. That's like a no-brainer on this. Then they do something, it seems a bit like minor, but it's really, really smart. They actually push you towards a subscription. So by default, it's not a one-time delivery. You actually have to click if you want the bag just once. And that's the reason why they have such a high subscription rate. So it was 80% of their customers actually recurring. And that's exactly what you want. Maybe they're going to try the first time. But if you just already by default, you give them like, okay, this is going to be a subscription-based thing. You don't have to. You can still find it out. But by default, the user experience that they created is focusing on the subscription, which makes sense because, first of all, they also make it more enticing so you can save up some money. You still have the guarantee in there. You can cancel or skip. So they remove basically the obstacles that people already have in their mind when it comes to like, but do I want to commit to a subscription? So they make this really enticing. You can even set up like how many weeks you want. And that makes a huge difference because every person that is at that stage to make a decision, like, do they want to support your nature venture? That's somebody that you definitely want to close. And if you can close them on not just buying once, but numerous times, you have a totally different lifetime value of that customer. So lifetime value, if that person, for example, just buys this bag once for 32 pounds, Nice, yeah, you make £32. But with a subscription, let's say the person stays for minimum, let's say five months. Now you're looking at £150. So totally different financial realities that you get in the end. So if you have anything, if it comes to donation, rather don't say one-time donation, but make it recurring by default. That's really going to make a huge difference. So definitely go through these kind of payment stages for your nature venture. Okay, to basket. They also make it easy with buy with a shop. So if you have something in the e-commerce space, then buy with a shop. It just makes it much quicker. So in the end, you can just pay with one click. That's definitely something good that removes some more barriers. Here again, we're talking about payment options. I actually just had a phone call with a client this morning, and we were talking about this payment options. It's super, super crucial. For example, I personally pay 90% of my things with Apple Pay. And so if it doesn't have Apple Pay, it's again becomes quite a friction for me, because now I need to pick up my credit card, need to type in the numbers. Maybe I don't have my wallet with me. So it creates all these kind of different friction, and out of sight, out of mind. So maybe I'm going to close it because I think I'm going to do it later, but then I just don't do it. So the payment options are really, really crucial. So again, if you're running something on the donation basis, also really try to figure out if you can increase the amount of options that you have for people, so that they can pick the one that they want. You can here again see it as well. They use the USP, what makes them really different, what makes them really trustworthy. They repeat this message everywhere. Then you have here this is really good for search engine optimization, and also really good for AI. Plus also for the user, because in the end you get really fast, like in bullet points, the different benefits that you have. Plus here again, they make the subscription. They tell you about like all the different benefits that you have. And now you feel a bit like, oh my God, I should really subscribe. In the end, it's like cheaper. It does all these fantastic things for me. So they back up the benefits that you have for the subscription. And you can, even when something is donation based, so even if you, let's say it's a mango restoration NGO that you have, even then try to make it more enticing for the people to support you on a monthly basis. Now what they do here, really smart again, they have a counter for how many customers they have, but they put like the dogs in the foreground, and they make like even like little videos, making it a bit more social media like, which I think is really great. If you can blend the social media and your shop, that's really fantastic. The reviews, so especially here, Trustpilot is one of the most trusted ones, so that's really good. So you can check then out basically the different feedbacks. Again, it's fantastic. The ingredients, so they pull basically all, they try to back you up, because right, like if you were already ready to make a buying decision, you had the images, you had all of that information. So if you scroll into here, you still need more reassurance. Otherwise you wouldn't scroll there. So you could, in theory, you could say like, I have an online shop, or I have like something to donate. I just like stop here. Why would I create more? Because not everybody is ready. Because the people that are not ready, they would keep on scrolling, because they will need to get back up of that their decision is the right one. So how do you do that? You try to create more trust. You try to provide more information that in the end maybe they need, because maybe there's an information gap. So you try to be more detailed of like what your product really does or your service does. You try again like to differentiate yourself from the others. So here it's about like, instead of ordinary brands, we do all of this stuff. And then again, really hone in on the testimonials and the experiences for the dog. And if you scroll into here, you see how many times I scroll already. You see on here, there's still an objection. Then, okay, let's tackle the biggest objection again. Okay, talk to a vet. You can trust a vet. They studied veterinary medicine. So in the end, trust them if you still need if you still need a moment. They back this up. And then they have the transition that we were talking about a bit earlier on the pictures. They have that here again, because you never know exactly the user behavior of people. So, and then last but not least, they come again back to Dragon Den. And here is some some cross-selling and upselling what they do. So here's some cross-selling. So if you maybe didn't find what you wanted to on top, you actually have here some cross-selling. So that means that they promote like other tools, other products and services. So you have that, so that in the end people have a wider options to choose from. And already here, instead of just like having a picture and the name and the price, they actually already provide here a couple of key insights so that you can think of if that makes sense for you. And then they just have the trust email. And then also really smart here again, they have again another FAQ section. I think that is probably a bit more general for all the different products, which is good, which again like reassures the person. Plus, it's good for AI and Google search. So yeah, that's a bit about one of the products. And I mean, you can go crazy and look through Nature Ventures and look into nitty-gritty into all the different perspectives. But in the end, I'm always a big fan of like, I take you basically now through this entire journey and I don't spend tons of time in there. We could go even deeper on the product. We could go even deeper on the Instagram strategy, but I just wanted to show you so that you can decode these kind of journeys for maybe your potential competitors, or that you could, just like work on your project by yourself and really see like, not just like what I say or the best practices I share, but you can actually really learn how I get to these kind of insights. One last thing I think especially on the side when it comes to of the acquisition is as well that they have these different new products that they created. So they probably just started with the food, then they created maybe wet food, then they got supplements, dental sticks, trees, and now they also do shampoo. So it can also be smart is like you look at the problem and the solution, and as soon as you solve that problem, there's another problem that comes up, because you realize, oh my god, not every dog actually likes dry food, some of them like wet food. Okay, now we've figured out food. Okay, maybe they need supplements or they need dental sticks, or okay, we covered that now, all the food related things. What else do dogs usually have problems with? Maybe the shampoo, maybe some are allergic against that. So you basically step by step you create this kind of entire universe. However, especially if you're starting out and you're watching this, don't launch like 50 products all at the same time. It's a nightmare. You do that step by step. You launch a product, it's a hammer, it's working, it's fantastic, it runs by itself after a while, then you launch the next thing. You don't launch 50 products all at the same time. So one last thing that I wanted to show you here. So let's say if we click here on add to basket, it's also interesting what happens here. So what do they do here? Often I would just see like, okay, I can buy this, but what else do they do? Psychologically, we love free stuff. So as soon as you can do something for free, that's amazing. And so they do free shipping. And so what they do here is they actually give you kind of a visualization of some milestones that you can hit. And psychologically, that works. So now I want to hit that milestone because I don't want to pay for that shipping. Now, that I now need to pay even more doesn't make a difference, but I don't want to pay for shipping. And so they show you the kind of milestone that you need to reach in order to get that. So quite naturally, I would now need to go back to the website, find what I want to get and so forth. But no, they also do some upselling here. So you already bought something and then they upsell you on something different that you could also need, that sometimes is actually connected to your product or should be connected to the product, because if you're solving a pain, it's pretty sure that they have like the next pain lined up too. And so even if you are, let's say, always coming back to NGOs, because this is really e-commerce heavy, really business heavy. So I try to take a lot of like examples from the NGO world to balance that a bit. Let's say you're working in a rhino NGO and like you create like a subscription to support on a monthly basis rhino conservation. Then an upsell could be like, okay, now you do that. Do you want to maybe buy a base cap too? Because all of the proceeds from that base cap, they go again into rhino conservation. So they do a monthly payment, but then on top of it, there's a one-time payment as well. So what I would do probably as a customer actually would, oh man, what do I need? Oh, cool. I would need that. Let's see. Oh no, now I'm still away from shipping. Smart. So let me say, maybe I would buy another package. Can't hurt. Voila. And now I hit another milestone. But there's a next one, so I can get again something for free. So it's very smart in order to get more each of the average baskets up, that people order just more things, so that with one session you increase the average basket. That is really, really important, because people obviously don't buy all the time. So when they're making the buy decision, you want to push the average basket as high as you can get without losing the conversion, right? You also don't want to make people angry so that they feel like, oh my God, these guys just want to rip me off. That should also not happen, because then you lose basically more sales, which then also can harm you. So you need to always find a bit of a sweet balance. What else do? They then obviously they tell you also like the discount. Here again, even on the call to action button, instead of just saying checkout, checkout securely with the locker and so forth. So it's all these kind of tiny details. It's not just because you put like a locker on a button, it means like, now your conversion rate is going to go through the roof. No, but it's all these tiny little things that they do that just add up. And then let's see what's happening here. Okay, so really fast checkout, as we know from Shopify. Really fantastic different paying options. They, for example, don't have Apple Pay. So I would probably need to wait now, get my credit card and do it. So hey guys, if you're watching this, Apple Pay. And the rest is quite straightforward. Looks like most other checkouts. And then, but they do something a bit like interesting here. They have again like recommended products. So even here, they still try to upsell you some more products so that you can increase the baskets. Awesome. Nice. And I think that's it. So I hope this was joyful for you. Let me know if you want more of this. To really quickly recap so that it's not too overwhelming, because we talked a lot about different aspects of this entire customer journey. First, awareness. Figure out like where your leads could be coming from. Social media, ads, blog articles. People need to hear about you first in order to find you. And the same goes when you deconstruct how another nature venture is doing it. Look at their website. Follow the breadcrumbs of where their potential leads are coming from. Second, education. So now that people are aware of you, how do you keep on educating them, warming them up to the idea that, hey, you should check that out a bit more in detail. You should give us a chance. How do you do that? You do that through newsletters. You do this through blog. You do this through your social media content that is more educational on what you actually do. You do this through all these kind of micro signals that I shared with you. So that's a really important step, because if you don't do the warming up phase, the jump towards the acquisition is just too high. Between awareness and acquisition, there's quite a gap that you still need to close. And so really, really important. So when you do the analysis, when you're looking at some other nature venture, figure out like, okay, how is this entire process going? Where do they share most of the information? Is it through a newsletter? Do they put more emphasis on the website? Do they do all of it? What can I learn from them for my nature venture? Is then really crucial. And then step number 3 that you can always do if you want to improve your conversions is you look at the acquisition moment. So make it a no-brainer to buy, to support, to donate, and ideally try to find the sweet balance between them donating, buying as much as they can, while at the same time not hurting your conversion rate either. Make it easy, make it fun. I showed you a couple of the things that they do in order to make it a bit more entertaining, and so that they feel like, hey, I have to do this because this just makes sense on so many fronts. So you can improve the checkout. You can use, again, these kind of different signals like secure payment opportunities, different payment providers, and so forth, and using some upsells. So when you do this again with a competitor that you look at, then have a look at how they are going from this educational stage to the payment stage. Now, for me, this was incredibly fun. It was really not highly edited. You really get as well me on some thinking. I really tried to keep it raw. I didn't prepare anything. So maybe there was also a bit of mumbling, but I really wanted to show you not just the here are some best practices from Omni, but also how I do it. Because for me, it's really important about, the story with the fisher. And instead of just giving you the fish, I really think more about hey, teaching you how to fish. And then obviously, because we're nature ventures, we would release the fish, or we don't even fish at all. So yeah, that's a great one when the nature lover is talking about the fishing story. But the fishing story is still it holds true. Is I want to teach you this kind of thing so that you don't feel like you actually need me or you depend on me, but you can actually do this kind of things yourself, because they are not so tricky after all. It's just trying to decode every possible best practice that you can find out in the world. So yeah, let me know. I would love to do this as well with nature ventures. If you watch this kind of content, definitely know. Let me know if you want me to have a look at your entire process. Happy to do so. So type in the comment. Let me know if some other obstacles you have that you would really like to address, or if you like that sort of content, then I'll do more of it. If not, then it was a really good test. So have a wonderful week, everybody. And yeah, let's continue to build a wider world.